Hi, I'm Dr. Chris Heine with OSU's Equine Extension Program, and today we're going to talk about some tips for horse owners on how to actually teach their horse to tie. So when I'm going to approach teaching a horse to tie, I first want to make sure she's actually in a mental state that is ready for tying.
So what does that actually mean, she's in a good mental state? Well, one, I want to make sure that she's pretty relaxed and I don't see any anxiety or nervousness in the horse. I also want to make sure she's in an environment where she doesn't feel insecure or isolated. So you can tell with this mare here, she's in a pretty good frame of mind. I might also leave my tying lesson more towards the end of our lesson when she might be a little bit tired and again, a little bit more likely to just want to peacefully stand tied. So we've checked that our horse is in a nice frame of mind and pretty relaxed, but I need to make sure she knows a couple other things before I actually start our tying lesson. So I need to know that she actually knows how to yield to pressure. So here I'm actually asking that mare to bring her head to the side in response to the pressure from that lead rope. And I need to make sure that she'll do it from both sides. So this is one exercise that I would do to kind of prepare my horse to tie. And I want to make sure she knows how to move her body off of pressure, and whether that's just her head following the pressure from a lead rope or the pressure of me asking her to move off from the rope that I'm swinging, my body language, etc. So these are all really, really important lessons that horse needs to learn before they're actually ready to stand tied. So getting ready to tie, a lot of it is doing some homework to make sure your horse has the fundamentals that have prepared them to succeed. After we've checked that our horse does yield to pressure, I don't want to just directly go ahead and tie her. So here I've just looped the lead rope over the rail and stepped away to see if she'll actually follow me. So if I can't trust her to not try to walk off with me just leaving her, she's clearly not ready to tie. So again, I don't want to tie her hard and fast until I can kind of see that she understands that she's essentially attached to a fixed object and won't try to follow me as I move around with her.
I'm next going to ask my horse to respond to pressure by moving back and forth and seeing if she can move her body while she's still tied to a fixed location. But because in this demonstration we're assuming our horse does not yet know how to tie completely, I don't have her tied fast and hard yet. So I've actually just looped my lead rope over the rail and the post. So again, she's not tied hard and fast. So what I'm looking for, I walk away from this horse. Does she realize that she's tied and doesn't try to follow me? And then I might try to direct her motion and ask her to move essentially back and forth, similar to what I would want to do with her as I was handling her. And again, look to see, does she understand that she is tied at a fixed location, and allow me to move her body, again, back and forth, asking her to yield to pressure, but just having her front end essentially stay in that same location. So if she isn't yielding to pressure while she's tied, I can always use some other tools. So I can increase pressure until she moves away, then I immediately stop. I could use the end of my lead rope and swing that toward her, or again, just check that this filly is responding to my body language to move those hips. Now, these are lessons that I would have taught her prior to being tied. Again, a lot of teaching a horse to tie is the homework of always yielding to pressure. So personally, I don't like to just tie a horse and see what happens if they panic or set back. Some horses can actually develop some pretty long-term memories if anything scary happens to them during this tying training process. So that's why we're really time and teach her to always yield to pressure and do this in a safe and secure environment. But sometimes things happen, just the nature of horses. So we've certainly seen somebody ride by or some event happen where the horse does panic during this process. And a horse setting back while they're tied can be pretty scary for an owner. So if your horse does do that, what we recommend is one, get out of the way from the horse and get back out of that picture and encourage that horse to essentially forward and get on their feet, or their weight back evenly on their front and back feet. Another really important point when working with young horses, teaching them to tie, etc., is always setting yourself up for success. So I've seen numbers of times that students or other folks that are learning to train horses for the first time have these young horses that don't have a really solid tying foundation and might leave objects near the horse that the horse may stimulate them to essentially play around with. But then if she knocks this over, she's going to scare herself. Just another tip for tying your young horse is really setting them up for success. So we're in a pretty quiet barn here. Right now we're near people doors, big garage doors that somebody may open to gain access to this arena. And if that happened while she was tied or during this training process, that big startle response again could actually result in some long-term fear memories of this process. So remember, when training your horse to tie, you need to set them up for success. Make sure that your horse already knows how to yield to pressure, both through her body and through the halter and lead rope. Make sure we're in a correct environment, that she's not going to be too nervous or anxious. We want to make sure she's in a good frame of mind. But if you follow these tips and really think about training your horse to tie, pretty soon you can just walk away.